बहन जी ओम शांति.
Om Shanti Bhaiji, welcome.
थैंक यू सो मच. थैंक यू. आप कैसे हैं?
बिल्कुल ठीक.
बहुत
Very
अच्छे.
well.
वेरी नाइस. वेरी नाइस. वेरी गुड.
We'll wait for 2 more minutes. Others
Yeah.
join on YouTube
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
And Sister Vanessa also is here. She is ready.
Right. Okay, good.
Sister Vanessa will start. Please unmute. Vous pouvez commencer.
D'accord. Je commence. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Bonsoir et bienvenue à tous pour notre session mensuelle consacrée à l'univers juridique. Le thème d'aujourd'hui est la Constitution de Maurice et la liberté de conscience. Avant de vous introduire ce sujet, je passe d'abord la parole à Sister Rupa qui va nous dire quelques mots de bienvenue.
Om Shanti, bonsoir et good evening to everyone.
Yep.
Our most respected brother, Professor Torul ji, and Sister Vanessa, all the participants. A very, very hearty welcome to this session today. Hope many things will be clarified on our constitution and especially we are celebrating the Peace Month, International Peace Day. And in this context, many programs have been organized throughout the world. And everybody is aware, is conscious of our first and foremost origin of the soul, that is peace. And so all the blessings from the Supreme Father to all of us, our souls, we are all one family, one God, Father's children. We are all souls, and being all children of one brothers, we have so much love for each other. But in the long run, that is lost. And on this day, everyone comes back to the awareness of soul and our origin of peace. And especially, we are also celebrating the different festivals, thinking of our ancestors who have been examples of our discipline, our different constitutions that have been followed. The disciplines always bring a lot of harmony, peace, and progress in our life. Now, so the more we have disciplined life, the more we follow the codes of conduct in the right way, we are always safe. And when we do it with faith, where there is faith, always there is victory. And so I wish everyone to enjoy the divine blessings from the Supreme Father and experience a lot of success in our life. Now enjoy every moment now that we are living at present, because every moment is just like a gift from the Supreme Father for all of us. The more we take it positive, we take it as a gift, the more we'll enjoy every moment, and life will be very beautiful. So best of luck to everyone. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, sister. Je vais vous introduire le thème. Donc, la Constitution de Maurice et la liberté de conscience. La constitution de Maurice est entrée en vigueur en 1968. Et donc, comme dans les autres États, elle est considérée comme la règle, la norme la plus élevée dans l'ordre juridique. Et là, je citerai le juriste Hans Kelsen qui disait que la Constitution se trouve tout au sommet de la pyramide des normes. Elle détermine l'organisation, le fonctionnement de l'État et elle regroupe tout un ensemble de droits fondamentaux. Et là, nous arrivons à notre sujet d'aujourd'hui. À Maurice, la Constitution garantit aux citoyens mauriciens la liberté de conscience dans sa section 11. Je terminerai cette introduction en disant que cette liberté est universellement reconnue dans de très nombreux États et notamment il y a 74 ans de cela par l'Organisation des Nations Unies qui a adopté la Déclaration universelle des droits de l'homme et qui a mentionné à son article 18 que toute personne a droit à la liberté de pensée, de conscience et de religion. Et maintenant, je laisse la parole au professeur Torul qui va expliquer la nécessité d'inclure des dispositions, des provisions sur la liberté de conscience dans notre Constitution. À vous,
Merci bien.
professeur.
Merci bien. Merci bien pour l'introduction. Et now, I feel greatly, how do I say, very much elated and delighted by Sister Rupa's brief introduction on many aspects of our being as a person and what constitutes a person's mental state in terms of when he has to make a decision, how much is guided by his conscience, how much is it guided by certain inner consciousness that he has in order to make the right decision. And I thank Vanessa for this very brief introduction, but very, very well focused. And exactly, you have encapsulated all the fundamental principle of what is freedom of conscience. Now, correctly, as you said, that, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has sort of adopted this very basic principle where there is subject to respect, dignity, and actually how human beings should be treated. All these have been included in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, let's go step by step to see that, first of all, Vanessa has just mentioned to you, in 1968, we had our independent constitution in which Section 11 provides for freedom of conscience. Now, where does it come from? Our 1968 Constitution, obviously, as Vanessa mentioned, that it has its derivative, it is derived from a very powerful source in the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But when we incorporated this basic principle of freedom of conscience, what exactly are we trying to bring into existence? What are we trying to bring into our welfare and well-being so that to make our society not only a civilized society, but a society that can live in harmony based on proper conscience, proper consciousness, proper reasoned decision. Now, putting this context into the practicalities, we have got many professions. As an individual, as a professional, as a family person, as a person, citizen in the society, all of them are dictated by this inner consciousness. Then we want to know what is that inner consciousness? What is actually dictating, directing us to make the decision? Somehow, in a very simple way, we say that it is an inner voice. Every individual has got a voice that is inside him, telling him that what is to be done and what is not to be done. And that is in any circumstances, in all circumstances. We get up in the morning, we are directed by our conscience. Whatever action we take in any circumstances, right? We are regulated, we are dictated, we are directed by our conscience. So what is it then? What is conscience? Right? It is a distinct voice. It is a voice that is inside us, in our inner self, right? That is actually any action that you want to take. It gives us some sort of signals. Those signals are very important to us to actually see whether we should take this action or not. Now, when we talk of conscience, what is the status? What is actually the nature of it? What actually it is? We are talking about inner consciousness. It is something that directs us to make a reasoned choice, to make a rightful decision. But then where does it come from? What actually is the conscience itself? We have got different levels of actually the consciousness. One is the physical, obviously, which whatever we see, right? The perception that we get, that's one thing. And based on that, we make our decision. That's physical. All our sensory organs give us some sort of ideas, direction, that this is how it should be done. But then we have got our mental as well. Our mental element that we have got, our cognitive sense, which is the reasoning power. Many times you find that the physical combined with the mental, does it give us the right choice? Does it give us the right decision? Is it the ultimate that, our physical, whatever we have seen, and whatever our mental state, the cognitive sense has given to us, do both these elements give us the right decision? What is the component of that when we talk of inner consciousness? Is it something a vague, a fantasy? No, it only builds up when it comes to the level of intelligence, the intellect, and the superior level of recognition in terms of what we call spirituality. That's where the connection is. The connection is not a straightforward thing in a constitution that has got a hollow meaning. It has got a very powerful meaning. It touches the innermost of a person. When you talk of right to life, freedom of expression, all these have got some connotation with spirituality. But above all, which Vanessa had mentioned, in our constitution, this is the apex, the ultimate that we need to look forward to in order to regulate our conduct in a society. The conscience is our personal element. It is not something from outside. It is not external. It is not imposed from anywhere, from external force. No, this is something internal. And that internal important level of thinking, this is need to be cultivated. It goes slowly, steadily, consistently. It builds up in a character of a person, in an attitude of a person, in the action of a person. Then it comes to actual reality of what the conscience has told me. We have got many instances of how conscience is applied in our practical life, right? What does it deal with? When you talk of freedom of conscience, after we have analyzed what is conscience, obviously, but then why does the Constitution specifically provides for in section 11 that there must be freedom of conscience? How does this element, how does this provision entrench in our Constitution? Is it different from a totalitarian state? From a state that is ruled by dictatorship? Do we have conscience there? Or our conscience is actually dictated? Our self, inner self, is actually being smothered, suppressed by an external force that doesn't make us to actually use our conscience. That's the difference between a democratic and a totalitarian state. Mauritius is a democratic state. In a democratic state, we have already explained the constitution, we have got democracy, the rule of law. But then all these have got certain commonalities. Those common points, the fundamental issues are that it touches the innermost in us. If the Constitution gives us the freedom of expression, it is something that is unraveling, opening up our inner self to actually connect freedom of expression, freedom of association. But then freedom of conscience also is a very, very important element that would actually enhance a person to the better self. He becomes a better self only if he can exercise the freedom of conscience. What it is actually freedom of conscience? It is directly linked with our freedom of thinking. There are three elements there. It is thinking, our verbal, the way we communicate, and our action. Three things at the same time. It should be in symmetry. Whatever we think from our deeper inner side, right, should reflect in our words. Whatever we say in our words and our action should demonstrate that. So first of all is our freedom to think. You find in many totalitarian states, we don't have the freedom to think. Many times the state decides what action to be taken, how an individual should act. That's what we say, it is a suppression of that freedom to think. So first of all, that is a thinking process. Now that thinking process, the next step is a private judgment. When I call a private judgment, it is not an external force coming to tell me what to do. That's the freedom. It's a private judgment. It's my own decision, using my own discretionary power. I'm able to decide what is right and what is wrong based on my belief, my experiences, my association, my knowledge, and my intelligence. All these will actually join together to give me the empowerment to decide a private judgment. We'll come to the issues later on to see how professionals actually use private judgment to make the rightful decision. We'll come to the next step there. And it's only can be possible if our constitution gives us that power, gives us that capacity to be able to exercise private judgment. Obviously, we have got many basic rights. Those basic rights actually are based on our personal belief. The private judgments, the freedom to think It's based on our belief, what we believe in, how we were nurtured those beliefs from the childhood days. What is our environment dictated to us, gave us the impetus to actually decide on the character that we need to have to live in a civilized society. What is the positive attitude that we need to have to actually stay in a very stable environment, and actually how selfless our action should be, how our action should actually be directed towards the welfare of human beings. This is what is very important. And what is all this now? Step by step, as we see, is a freedom of thinking. It's a private judgment that is based on our beliefs, on the experience that we have, the experience, the environment in which we live. All these have got the sum total of one important point, is your moral tenet. How you actually interpret all your action, your thinking, your verbal, and your action. All these should have the touch of morality. Ideally, it should be conducive to good living. So the tenet of morality is the most important directive, is the most important uh, pointer. It is something, it's a guideline. So we got to build up that moral standard by which our conscience would be able to carry out the thought, the words, and the action in a proper, consistent way, and there'll be symmetry, there'll be more harmony in whatever we are doing that will be conducive to good living for myself and for others, right? So it is this moral tenet sort of compels us, it urges us, it gives us something that we have to decide voluntarily. That's the freedom, is the voluntary aspect of actually deciding what is the right choice and the rightful decision. It's a compulsion, it's an urge that comes from inside, and that urge should be regulated by our moral values, right? And when it comes out, it should be voluntary. There's no coercion. Nobody urges us. Nobody compels us to actually do certain things. So it is, when we talk of freedom of conscience, it's our inner consciousness that actually direct us. And the freedom is ensured by the entrenched provisions of our constitution. So everyone is then free to exercise the free will to make the rightful choice and a good decision. This is very important because it is a voluntary action. It is a voluntary process by which we make a decision and we make the choice that is required for the betterment of all. Then when we talk about freedom of conscience, what is the substance of that freedom of conscience? What actually is that? The freedom of conscience. It is, right, every citizen in Mauritius should be able to enjoy the freedom to choose. It's a moral choice. It's a moral decision. It is something that you are actually not being forced, but actually you are brought in through a voluntary will, through the inner consciousness, what you're doing is right. So when we talk of how do we choose, what does our conscience say when we have to make a choice? What choice do we have to make? Many times we have to make our choice to political affiliation, then a society in which we want to live, to be associated with, a religion which we want to practice, the culture that we wish to follow, and then the language that we need to actually speak. So this is the freedom that has been given by our constitution. That is, we have absolute right. Obviously, this is not an absolute right. It is a right, yes, that is given to us, but these are what we call conditional rights. The right to choose political affiliation doesn't give us a blanket permission, approval, or authority to practice anything, or a religion that is harmful to others, or a language that we speak that is actually in breach of the freedom of expression, the freedom that we get. So in a way, we have got to be very careful the step that we have to take in actually knowing what is conscience, is that it is an inner voice that tells us what to do, and that inner voice you need to have the freedom to express. And then if we have to express, so in what way do we express it? We have to make a choice, and the choice is, have got many choices in our life, many choices, right? To be or not to be, to do or not to do. A lot of these choices will present day and night in front of us. It's only the beautiful thing is that how do we cultivate that culture of refining our conscience, our consciousness, that our conscience will be actually telling us this is the right thing to do. When we talk of conscience, morality, spirituality, all these are connected elements. Because when we come to spirituality, it is about connecting with others, bringing happiness in the life of others, bringing empowerment within ourselves to see things in a better way. So in a way, the relationship that we create with spirituality, conscience is very much part of that, to make that choice. So if we are making any choice and our conscience is regulating that, then we'll see that from the moral standard, whatever choice our conscience is regulating, is telling us, it will be definitely better for an individual and for others as well. So now let's look at in which aspect of our professional that freedom of conscience is required at all time. At all time. Okay? Many professionals have got this choice to make. And the conscience is the one that will guide, that will give us the right direction. And once our conscience is clear, in our law, it is the intention that counts. Every time mens rea or intention in a contract, these are based on intention. At the material time when the transaction was carried out or any action that was committed at that time, what was the intention of that person? That intention, if it is done in a proper way, and the conscience is that I have done it for the good of a person, then the conscience will be giving us the right direction to do the action, to commit the action. But if one goes against the conscience, then it means that it is the intention is wrong. The intention is bad, and therefore there will be more likely that things will not be done in a correct way. The decision will not be right. Okay. Now we've got many instances in which we have to juggle, we have to find way in order to settle down on what action to take, what will be the right choice for us. For example, the case of abortion, which from legal point of view, the moral standard, from the religious point of view, it has got many issues that creates a dilemma in a human being, right? And the conscience will be the one to actually find a path for us where it will be the right choice and the good decision. It's only our conscience will tell us that. For example, death penalty. is still a very controversial issue in terms of religious beliefs. No one has the right to take the life of another person. That's a moral standard, religious standard. But in terms of law, it's different. Sanction, punishment is actually allowed in law. Decisions are made where culprits are punished. There we have got victim needs to be given the sort of social justice. We have got this. It's already entrenched in in all the provisions of the law. It is there. But then death penalty still remains a debatable issue where conscience would be required to actually make sense out of our decision. In many instances, law, we have got unfair discriminatory practices. Discrimination based on sex, in terms of age, experience, knowledge, environment, race, all these are objects. They are the subject of discrimination even up to now, right? So in terms of when there is a decision to be taken, let's say we have got in a workplace, we have to take a decision on promotion. What are the criteria for promotion? What will be the just measure to actually judge who is deserved, who is eligible for a promotion? Then it again tells on our conscience how to decide in what way we should approach, so that whenever we decide to give promotion to a person, actually it should not be contested, because it is based on all the principles regarding morality and law, the validity, the reasonableness. All these are part of our conscience that will dictate to us, yes, in all aspects of the decision, we have actually canvassed everything to give our conscience the right freedom to choose the right decision. We have got cases of euthanasia, for example. Mercy killing is also an issue debatable, whether it is correct or not. Mercy killing. The patient is brain dead. There is no actually possibility of his survival, of his coming back to life and live a normal life. Under these circumstances, again, a moral dilemma comes in, whether we have to carry out the euthanasia or we leave it as this, let the nature takes its own course. Is it that way? The conscience dictate to us that whatever action we are going to take, it should be the good for others, not essentially for me, but for me, my intention is clear. Whatever I was doing for the sake of actually benefiting or to the advantage of others, so that they have got a better life to live. We have got other, like, in many instances, we have got like people trespassing on minority rights. Minority rights all over the world. We find that they are actually being distanced, they are not being taken good care of, they are discarded of the interests that they have. These should be actually on our conscience. Whatever we are doing, does our conscience allow us to do it? This is a sort of a guiding principle. It is something that blocks us to do the wrong thing, because conscience is clear. It is not sullied. It is not actually become bad or soiled. Conscience remains always pure and simple all the time. Whether you're doing good or bad, the conscience will tell us that this you have done bad. Your mind told you that it's bad, but your words that you have used is contrary to what we are thinking, what our conscience is saying, and our action is worse than that because it is not conforming to the morals that we are actually trying to emulate. It goes far from that. So, in a way, the conscience is the one which is very pure, and people do the wrong action and they feel guilty because their conscience has not allowed it. Because they feel, I'm guilty, I said something wrong, I was violent against someone, so I'm very sad about it. I'm very sorry about it. So when a person talks like this, then definitely it means that the person conscience has pricked him and he feels that he is guilty of something. Then finally, if we have got a legal advice or legal service, which is our profession, and here we have got an alleged criminal who comes to seek for help, for legal assistance, knowing very well this person is guilty of the crime, do you think our conscience will allow us? So we are duty bound. By our code of practice, we are not supposed to refuse legal assistance to an alleged criminal, yet our conscience is there all the time to make us do things that will be good for the criminal, but also good for the conscience. So we do things in the parameters of the law, which actually satisfy the state of our conscience. So therefore, we cannot feel guilty because we are doing things as a matter of professionalism. Our professional does not allow us not to give service to a human being who requires, who is in need. So therefore, this is a very important thing that we need to consider all the time to give assistance to a person. Then finally, if we come to the freedom of conscience, when you talk of freedom, people have the impression that it is an unconditional freedom. It is something that is absolute. It is something that I can do and nobody can question me. In many aspects, whatever choice we have to make, whatever conscience has dictated, has told us to do, it is not an absolute right. We have to live in a society that would actually upholds harmony, social justice, and better living. And how do we do that? We have to restrain ourselves. We have to put limitations. Those limitations are very important. Otherwise, we will make an abuse of our power of thinking, power of speech, and power of action. All these have to be regulated, to be restrained in order to keep in harmony with the environment in which we are living. All these, we can say, has got deep connotation with spiritual living. Because if only in spiritual living that we can think, we can speak, and we can act in a consistent manner for the betterment of the community, of the society, of the state, and of the world. It's only then. Otherwise, no. So there is a consistency in the application and in the progress of everything that we do. And mind us, we are mindful. We have to always be caution ourselves that there is a conscience. If we don't go by the dictates of our conscience, then we have got all possibility of making a wrong decision, and the decision can be harmful to oneself and to others as well. That's why when a person is doing anything that is of corruptible element, or it is something of a crime, or it is something, a transgression against social behavior, all these would actually have a bad repercussion later on because we have gone against the spirit of good conscience. If we don't do that, then we feel that we can exercise our freedom of conscience, but with a regulated way that will bring a social harmony. a better place for everyone to live in. But unfortunately, many wrongful elements, many vitiating factors come in that will actually give us a wrong direction, and we'll end up on a platform where we are being posted, we are put on a ridicule, we are mocked at because we will be punished at a later stage for taking a wrong decision and not listening to our good conscience. The dictates of our conscience is our absolute guide in order to make us a better person. So, therefore, our Constitution has rightfully provided by Section 11 freedom of conscience, whereby we all have the power to exercise our free will, our judgment in conformity with our good conscience, but with a limitation that it is not harmful, because there is a reciprocal obligation. If we got the freedom of conscience, there is a reciprocal obligation that we need as well to look into the goodness to the benefit of everyone. So, having said so, in conclusion, I'll say it's a very important freedom of conscience is fundamentally very important, acknowledged universally in the divine law as well, that conscience is a very important part of our inner consciousness. It's a voice that is always restraining us from doing bad things. So it is a condition that we need to develop with superior quality and to reach to that level of consciousness that is spiritual, and to bring more, cohesion in our social living and better relationship with other human beings and other elements that are actually very important for our good living in our society. Having said so, I thank Vanessa for your introduction, Sister Rupa as well. Thank you very much. And if there's any question or Vanessa would like to add something, I'll be very happy to hear that.
Thank you, professeur. Non, juste, je voulais ajouter par rapport à ce que vous avez dit en dernier sur le fait que cette liberté ne doit pas être harmful pour les autres. Ça me fait penser à un adage qui dit que la liberté des uns s'arrête là où commence celle des autres.
Voilà, c'est bien dit. Voilà. C'est bien dit. Merci.
Voilà, c'est tout pour moi.
Anyone could add up anything? I'll be very happy to hear that.
Any question on YouTube? You can post on chat. Those on Zoom, feel free to ask any question.
Thank you, Tara, for giving us a good feedback. Thank you. Seems to be, I hope, quite clear. All the principles, the fundamentals, the basics of freedom of conscience.
I have something that I would like you, Professor, to clarify.
Yeah. Yes, go on.
We're talking about conscience, that inner voice.
Yeah.
Does somebody have a distorted conscience, a distorted inner voice?
Thank you very much for this question. Conscience is the purest element that we can have in our inner consciousness, because that is the absolute connection that we have got with the divine. Conscience cannot be polluted. This is an absolute, what you call, dictum. conscience can never be polluted. That's why we say, my conscience is pricking me. I've gone against my conscience. Because conscience is the standard by which everything is measured. So that conscience cannot be distorted. If that is distorted, the whole world will be distorted. That's the formula we need to adopt. That there must be a benchmarking. The benchmarking is the absolute purity of conscience. We always say, I am sorry. Why do I say I'm sorry? Please forgive me. Why is it so? Because something has told him what you did is wrong. If that source which has told him that you have done something wrong, if that source is distorted, then you'll never get the reality of asking sorry, saying sorry, please forgive me. Because that distortion will be actually a destruction of that inner consciousness that we have. That's the benchmarking, that's the purity we need to maintain. That's the one that is connected with the divine.
I agree to that, and yet I still have the question. Let's say somebody who, I don't know, want to have the intention or thought of self-destruction or harming others. Listening to the inner voice. Their intention might be wrong, but there's a voice inside pushing them to do that harm to themselves or to others.
Right.
So what has happened to the conscience of that person?
I get your point, what you're saying. There is something that tells me that I have to actually assault someone. How do I determine that I should assault someone? What is my inner voice telling me? Let's analyze this one. Here is someone that I want to assault. Have I asked the question why I want to assault? Is it just because I got the pleasure of assaulting? There must be a reason. I spoke about intention before. It's our mind, words, and action. So in our mind, we have already determined that this person I need to assault. But then there must be a reason. I'm not a mad person to be assaulting people. No, I am not doing that. Must have a good reason. And that good reason is the choice we have to make. That's what I said. That freedom that we have, that freedom should be exercised. And that freedom is of determining the action that I'm going to take to assault someone. Is it right or wrong? Because conscience is actually has got the base which is based on morality, moral. And morality always distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So our conscience will be able to tell us what is right and what you're wrong. And sister Ben, what you are asking me, if that conscience itself is dictating to me that go and assault that one, so how do we actually, how do we describe this situation? For me, this is a distorted way of actually looking at what is right and wrong. Basically, assault, whether it is good or bad, we should know that our conscience should say that it is bad. Our conscience should tell us that it is bad. Because if we look at all the provisions of the law, they're based on morality. And that morality, the standard of morality, comes from the divine principle. And the divine principle should be actually regulated by our conscience, which is connected with the divine. So for me, assault by the action itself, whether good or bad, is bad. The conscience cannot tell us that go and assault. The conscience should always tell us not to assault. There is nothing destruction. Destruction has got salvation. There is no salvation in that. What we say in our own principle, Om Shanti. So that Shanti is a precept that is something very inside us. It never actually directs us. It never guides us. It never tells us. It never orders or instructs us to do anything against Om Shanti. It can never. Beautiful. Whatever person is doing, that's wrong. That is against those basic divine principle. And that divine principle is connected with our conscience. Our conscience should not actually tell us anything deviating, something that is not the right way to do it. It will never. Conscience is the purest form of our Atma, we can say.
And that's beautiful, because you say that conscience is that purest state of our soul, our being. And it is always connected with the divine, and it is that divine that guides that, or color that, or influence that conscience that tell me what is right, what is wrong, to tell me that wrong is wrong and right is right.
Yes, Bahan.
And I personally feel if there is a disconnection with the divine, then that conscience can get distorted and take wrong to be right.
You're right. That's it.
Spirituality come into play. And you rightly pointed out in the previous presentations that when we're talking about spirituality, it has nothing to do with our faith, our religion, but it has everything to do with our personal link with the Creator. Our strong faith in morality and the divine laws and the divine principles that guide the universe, that guide our life.
Sure.
So
well explained.
Spirituality helps us keep that conscience, healthy, pure, keeps it in its purest state, and we have to nurture that link with the divine, link with God.
That's right. बहुत अच्छे explain किया आपने.
Yeah, and when we witness, so much of injustice and harm and violence around us, we're celebrating Peace Day, but there are so many, behaviors and actions that create so much of peacelessness around us in the world, and we start questioning, where is the conscience of that person who is provoking or triggering harm and violence and causing so much pain?
True.
The connection somewhere with the divine, and we think we have to nurture that spirituality starting from very early age in our youth, in our children, so that it allows them to the proper development and growth of that conscience. Because so many of our youth today are in drugs and those dark paths, and they have hardly been given the chance to think about conscience, to go and look inside and listen to their inner voice. And that is why they get influenced by other voices out there. So I'm so thankful to you to connecting that element of conscience with the divine, with spirituality. Thank you for that. And thank you, Vanessa, for so beautifully introducing the topic. And
you're welcome, sister.
Yeah, and I think we finished today's online with a short meditation, connecting with the divine. So I request Vaishnavi to play a video which is going to guide us into a short meditation.
allow the body to sit quietly. I become aware of the many different energies that make up life. As the body sits quietly, I'm aware of the physical, the biological energies of this valuable instrument of mine. For a little while, I would like to turn my attention away from my physical energies and focus my energy inwards. Consciously, I allow this physical instrument of mine to let go of the tension in the muscles, my feet, my legs, my back, my arms, my shoulders, my neck, and even the muscles in my face. I let go of the tension of hanging on, and everything becomes calm and relaxed. Now, instead of looking outwards, I allow my mind to look within. Seeing the world outside, I choose for a few moments not to see it. I let the sounds of the external world fade into the background so that they are no longer a distraction. And on the screen of my mind, I visualize a point of light. I can locate this point of light specifically. As the body sits quietly, I become aware of the life force, the source of life, in the center of my forehead, just behind. This is who I am. I am a point of eternal light. In this awareness of my eternal form, I gather the full force of my energy within. I know I am the master of this physical instrument. I can now direct the way in which my physical senses function. What it is I see through these eyes, what it is I choose to communicate through my lips, even what it is I wish to absorb from the information coming to me through my ears. I, the being of light, the eternal soul, am the creator. I, this point of infinitesimal energy, am the master. Becoming aware of this, am able to send out light and life throughout this physical body, and use this body for that which is constructive, that which is filled with goodness.
So we have reached the end of today's online session. I first of all thank Professor for this very clear-cut presentation on that concept of conscience and its connection with our constitution and our life and our decision. And thank you, Vanessa, for the introduction. And I thank Sister Tara and Vaishnavi for the technical part. All those who have joined us on Zoom and on YouTube, thank you very much. We invite you in a month's time for another pertinent and interesting topic regarding law and spirituality with Professor Torul. So till then, I wish you all the best, a very good night, and all the best wishes to all of you in your journey. And please do make some time, even 1 or 2 minutes daily, to just get in touch with that inner voice, with that inner conscience, and nurture it so that it remains in its purest form to guide us at every step in our life, for our own benefit and for the good of humanity, as Professor has rightly guided us. So thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. It was really a very nice expose. You merit a lot of applause for that. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations for the very beautiful expose. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Good night, everybody.